Well, President Cyril Ramaphosa is under pressure to explain the missing millions from his game farm in Limpopo. Several opposition parties have questioned why the ongoing investigation has produced little to no answers. They want the probe to be fast-tracked, and they also want to table a motion of no confidence against Ramaphosa in Parliament. Some background for you. Shocking details of the stolen cash emerged from a criminal case opened by former spy boss Arthur Fraser earlier this year. He claims about $4 million in cash was stolen from Phala Phala and that those responsible were tortured and paid for their silence. So yesterday, the leaders of those parties, including the EFF, the UDM, COPE and the ACDP, stressed that Ramaphosa must be held accountable. Let's unpack the story even further with political analyst Levy, Ndou, who joins us via our video link this morning. Great to have you with us on the program this morning, Levy. Thanks very much for coming on. Interesting that the Democratic Alliance will not be part of this motion of no confidence in Parliament. It adds to the sort of murmurings that it stands little chance of success.
Good morning, Michelle. Good morning to the viewers at home. Indeed. Firstly, Michelle, the members of Parliament have a responsibility to ensure that indeed there is accountability, there is transparency, and of course openness. And a number of processes are supposed to be followed when you have got a situation similar to the one that the president is involved in. And when you have a situation where legally and rightfully so, political parties in Parliament will have to push for a motion of no confidence, and having a party like the Democratic Alliance withdrawing, it would bring two things. One, that even though the oppositions appears to be united on this matter, they actually differ on the strategy. And that has a potential now to weaken the motion of no confidence in terms of it not going to succeed, if indeed it's going to be granted.
Yeah.
Number two, the Democratic Alliance appears to be saying that let's follow the due processes first and get the necessary information that is required, which will then determine whether a motion of no confidence will be relevant or not.
Yeah, and that due process is around establishing that Section 89 committee, right? The only problem is that before that committee can be established, a panel will have to probe whether indeed the president does have a case to answer. I mean, is this a case of Parliament dragging its feet? And we know that the accusations of Parliament doing just that go a very long way back. Or, Levy, is it a case of procedural flaws and procedural delays?
There has been a concern that Parliament appears to take time when it comes to matters relating to ensuring that the executive is accountable and it's answerable on matters of governance. But equally, the unfortunate part is that you don't just establish a committee as fast as you can. There are due processes that have to be followed. Mm-hmm. And one would expect that even though it's a painful exercise or a bit frustrating, it's better to have a committee established, having followed all the necessary procedures, rather than having a committee just established which will still be challenged and still not be able to do its work as required. Another aspect that I have is that it is my view that you need to ensure that in whatever processes that you establish, you need to be as fair as possible so that whatever process that you have should actually get the necessary credibility that it requires.
Levy, the issue around the motion of no confidence again, and just, the viability of a motion of no confidence given the numbers in Parliament. We've talked about the fact that the DA will not be supporting the motion. Of course, that also means that it will need a level of support, right, from the ANC's own MPs. How likely is that?
Well, firstly, in South Africa, we have had a lot of motions of no confidence. And I think it's also a matter that relates to the procedures that Parliament still has to establish now relating to motions of no confidence. And of course, if the Democratic Alliance is not party to the motion of no confidence that might be proposed, or the GA is not in support of that motion, obviously the possibility is that this motion might not be successful. And I think another aspect that we need to look at, which is what I raised earlier on, is that you need to come with a motion of no confidence when we have got sufficient facts to be able to ensure that you convince others to follow onto your motion and support it. And I think the manner in which it is being done now, with the poor support of the DA, with the ANC having a trend of always supporting each other, I just don't see this motion of confidence succeeding in Parliament.
Shall we talk a bit more about that briefing that was held, that multi-party briefing that was held just yesterday, and some of the things that EFF leader Julius Malema had to say about where this Phala Phala saga emanates from and who is the driving force behind it? He's singled out former President Thabo Mbeki.
Well, anything is possible in politics. But I think what is important is that whatever happens in the political circles, there is a lot of backstabbing in politics, there is a lot of denial, there is dishonesty, and there is a lot of scheming that happens in politics. It might be true that former President Mbeki was involved. It might also not be true that he is involved. All that you need are the facts to be put on the table. But what I see here is that political parties now appear to be playing into the gallery of the ANC politics. But there is no way that they would resist not to do so, because the ANC is the governing party in South Africa, and the intention of all other political parties is to ensure that the ANC has to collapse. So whatever information they have at their disposal, they'll want to use it in order to weaken the ANC. But if that is the case, it will be quite unfortunate for a former leader of the party and government to be involved in this kind of scheming, because one would expect him to be above politics and to provide whatever guidance necessary to his party and to government.
Levy, Ndou, let me thank you for your time this morning. Political analyst there, as we continue to track the various legs around those opposition parties banding together for a motion of no confidence against President Ramaphosa.